Tonight on the Final Play.
You look back on the body of work over the course of the game, and yeah, that feels good.
The Saints obliterate the Bengals in their most complete game of the season. We've got reaction and analysis from the Black and Gold's 8th straight win.
They took the wheel of this team, and that team did not want to come back out, in the second half and try to stop them. They couldn't stop them.
Plus,
very impressed with our guys.
A winning weekend for every college team in our area, while the high schools kicked off their playoffs and volleyball crowned some local champions. Plus, the Pelicans have themselves another win streak as they head into another tough stretch. It's all on a victorious edition of the Final Play, starting right now.
From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Final Play, sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealer, built Ford tough, and Nissan.
Welcome into the Final Play. I'm Juan Kincaid. The win streak is now 8 games. For the Saints, none of the previous 7 wins were as dominant as today's was against Cincinnati. 51-14 was the final score, and by game's end, you heard far more hoodats than hoodays. Here's Sean Vazan.
If some fans were concerned with a trap game, this wasn't it. The Saints rolled into Paul Brown Stadium on Sunday and put forth their most dominant performance of the season with a complete dismantling of the Bengals 51-14 to win their 8th game in a row.
So far, this is our most complete game from start to finish. Just both sides of the ball, really executing well.
And it all began with the offense. The Saints took their opening drive, 15 plays for 75 yards that ended with a Michael Thomas touchdown catch.
I think we took about 10 minutes off the clock, converted some third downs, obviously scored a touchdown. So it was a good way to start the game, good way to just kind of, establish our presence, the line of scrimmage. And then we were able to put together some good drives after that.
That may be an understatement. The Saints offense proceeded to score points on their next 8 possessions. They never punted and simply pounded the Bengals all game long. The stats are overwhelming. Breeze had 3 touchdowns and 3 incompletions. The Saints possessed the ball for nearly 40 minutes to the Bengals 20 minutes and ran 74 plays to the Bengals 43. They outgained Cincinnati 509 to 284 in total yards, and everyone seemed to get in on the act. Keith Kirkwood got his first catches as a pro, while Teddy Bridgewater threw his first pass as a Saint.
We felt it was the right time to make that switch. Defensively, we did the same thing in a number of positions, and we also did the same in offense.
Mark Ingram had his best game of the season. He rushed for 104 yards on 13 carries. He even had an impact in the passing game. In the second quarter, he took a screen and followed a convoy of blockers to pay dirt. When he reached the end zone, he threw up the X sign as a tribute to the Saints' newly signed but newly injured receiver, Des Bryant.
Des, man, he came in right away, and he was just one of the guys, man. And so, we was all excited about him being a part of our team. Great playmaker, good dude. And, we all hated to see what happened, on Friday. So we just wanted to let him know he's still part of us and we holding him down.
Defensively, the Saints yielded touchdowns on their first and last drive, but absolutely nothing in between. They held Cincinnati to 0 for 6 on third downs and picked off Andy Dalton twice. One from Eli Apple, his first as a Saint, and the other from Marcus Williams, who nearly took it to the house and set up a Saints touchdown right before halftime.
I just read a quarterback. I had a great rush, had a great coverage on with the corners, and he just threw it up there. I want to go get it.
I thought you were going to get that 6.
I'm trying to get a 6, man. Every time I catch him, I'm trying to get a 6.
Leading up to Sunday, there was a lot of talk about a trap game. But afterwards, players say that wasn't going to happen. They had too much respect for the team they were playing.
First of all, there's no trap games against a 5-3 opponent, on the road. So coming off a bye week. So, we felt like obviously this is a very talented team that we were playing against, and we wanted to make sure we had our best performance. And you also understand the value of each one of these wins. I mean, they equal the same, and you can make arguments for NFC and, divisional and that kind of stuff. But, man, a win is a win, right? And so this win is just as valuable as any other win.
Who that said they're going to beat them Saints? Who that?
We now welcome in Saints Hall of Famer and Fox 8 Saints analyst Deuce McAllister. And Deuce, we spoke before the game. We didn't think a trap game was coming. It didn't. I think we can all agree to that. They were prepared and then some for this game.
They were prepared and they were willing to play it any way or fashion that they needed to do so, whether that was going out and scoring a lot of points or having to defend, the Bengals really being on. But we saw after that first drive, this team was locked in. And I mean, you knew the Bengals, how they prepared as far as their first 15, they could get you off of balance, and that's what happened. But once the Saints adjusted, man, it was ugly.
I'm starting to think this is the formula for this team. Just score, score, score. Force the opposing team to score with you, and just not every offense can do that. And then when the defense kind of picks their spots, that's really a formula for this team right now, I think.
Well, if they can come up with 2 or 3 stops, particularly whether it's making a team punt, and then or getting turnovers. That's second week in a row we've seen them get a turnover right before the half. And when that's happened, they took the wheel of this team. And that team did not want to come back out, the second half and try to stop them. They couldn't stop them.
I used the term earlier, bully ball. That offensive line I don't know, is it possible that they're underrated? Because I think that is the best offensive line in football. We're witnessing every week for the Saints right now, and today they took over once again.
Yeah, you have concern for Armstead and his shoulder, how bad or what is it that he's dealing with. Didn't really use it as he came off the field. I mean, but you're playing Gene Atkins as well as Dunlap, and they were able to limit those guys. Now, they got some penetration and some push, but outside of that, Brees had all the time in the world. I think it was, 3 incompletions for him? I mean, and so, offensive line-wise, they can play against any type of defense. This is probably 3rd or 4th week in a row we have seen them just really take over a unit, being able to slow them down or stop them.
Look no further than the time of possession. Almost 40 minutes for the Saints, just over 20 minutes for the Bengals. One player we spoke about earlier in the game that he could be poised for a game today is Mark Ingram. Good to see him back.
Yeah, it was good to see him back. You talk about the screen game. It's been instrumentals, last couple of years running that screen to perfection. And then in the run game, there were a couple of back doors that he hit as far as cutting them back, and it was isolated. And, he gets up on those safeties. I think it's only going to help his confidence as well as team having to stop or slow them down. And, he was fantastic today.
And after his score, you saw him throw the X up. So clearly, Des Bryant is a guy they very much respect, and he's only been around for, 4 days so far. To get that kind of respect within the locker room, I think says something about him. But still, Des Bryant was on their mind a little bit.
He was on their mind, and a lot of the guys throwing up the X for him, just showing them the appreciation. And he just wanted to win, and that's the only thing that the Saints wanted to do. And I think, to show his appreciation, you had a lot of guys that threw up the X for him, and just for him to be able to be around it, I think that's going to be good for his spirits as well as for his teammates' spirits.
This team has won 8 in a row, and they're dominating. I mean, every win has been by double digits almost, it feels like, with the exception of maybe the Baltimore game, post-bye. So what's your read on this team right now? It just feels like this could be one of those special teams.
Get healthy, go back and look at some of the things that you made mistakes in. There are a couple plays that you can clean up, tackling pretty early on. You could have did a little bit better job. The streak of not giving up 100 yards was broken. So there's some things that you can get better at, but at the end of the day, you have to feel pretty pleased. And then everybody else in the NFC lost as well, so that helps.
Deuce has got his player kind of responses ready. He knows they still got to watch the tape, still got to get better. Deuce, thank you, sir.
Yeah, and that was NFC South lost today.
That's right.
So Atlanta lost, Tampa lost, and Carolina, so that helps you.
Yeah, they're sitting pretty right now. All right, Deuce, thank you.
Much more from Deuce McAllister will come your way beginning tomorrow morning with his Black and Gold Rewind at 8 a.m. At 5 o'clock, Deuce's 2-minute drill comes your way. And tomorrow night, 10:35, we'll wrap up the evening with the Black and Gold Review Show. Now's the time to get your questions in by using that Final Word feature on the FinalPlay app. Still to come here on the Final Play. Return of the Mark. Saints running back Mark Ingram had his first statement game since his return from suspension. Chris Hagan will break down his day against the Who Days when we come back.
You're watching the Final Play.
Our Fox 8 catch of the week, an easy call, and it came in the Saints-Bengals game just before halftime. Brees to Mike Thomas, touchdown. His 509th touchdown throw, which moved him past Brett Favre into second place. Brees is now 30 touchdown passes away from tying Peyton Manning for the all-time record. The Saints have been waiting for a day like this from running back Mark Ingram, a day when he looks like his old self running the ball again. Since coming back from his 4-game suspension, some question his ability to be a difference maker again. Ingram answered that question in Cincinnati today. Here's Chris Hagan.
Returning from his 4-game suspension against Washington, Ingram was force-fed the ball on that Monday night, which resulted in a pair of touchdowns. But since then, he'd been relatively quiet. And after last week's fumble on a day where his backfield mate, Alvin Kamara, totaled 3 touchdowns, you couldn't help but wonder whether or not Ingram's role had been reduced. Today's performance answered that question with a resounding no in Cincinnati.
Across the goal line, touchdown, Mark Ingram!
Given the Bengals' below-average run defense, we shouldn't have been surprised, but it was a reminder and refreshing to see how special of a back Mark Ingram is.
I'm grateful, been working my butt off, and I just try to take advantage of my opportunities. When they present themselves, we have lots of weapons on this offense, and so when I get my number gets called and I have the opportunity to make some plays, I just try to, do my job and make that happen.
Plays like this, a wheel route to Ingram down the field, show his true versatility that's often overshadowed by a back like Alvin Kamara. And the type of running he did late in the game are where it pays off to have a physical back and offensive line that can wear down an opposing front seven.
And I think you just go in with the mentality that, man, we're going to have to earn every inch, right? Earn every yard. And then all of a sudden you bust one, or just, I felt like really the run game for the most part today was just, man, it was solid. It was 4 yards here, it was 5 yards here. Then you maybe break off an 8 to 10 yard run, but it was just it was methodical.
But the truly unique trait shared by Ingram, Kamara, and the entire offense is their togetherness. With so many weapons, they all know that every game won't be their game. But when called upon, like we saw from number 22 today, they're always ready to answer.
Savage. Savage. Some dogs. Dogs, that's it. Dogs. The whole squad. The whole squad. Not just the offense, the whole squad.
Reporting on the Saints, I'm Chris Hagan for the Final Play.
Coming up here on Final Play, we head to campus to check out a very successful Saturday for all of our local schools. LSU, Tulane, and Nichols. We're headed your way when the Final Play continues. And in the meantime, we bring you the Final Play Fan Cam. To submit your passionate picture, send an email to PIX, that's PIX, at fox8live.com.
You're watching the Final Play.
The weekend after playing Alabama has always been a tricky one for the LSU Tigers because the letdown after Bama is just hard to avoid. Last night in Fayetteville, Arkansas, the Tigers survived their Bama hangover and beat the Razorbacks. Garland Gillen takes a look back.
There appeared to be no Alabama hangover in the first 3 quarters of the Tigers' contest with Arkansas. They rushed out to a 24-3 lead and win number 8's team the Given. But LSU gave up 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter and left Fayetteville with only a 7-point win.
It was good to get on the plane. It was good to get out of Baton Rouge and come to a tough place to play. And although it wasn't pretty, we won the football game. Our guys feel good about themselves. We won 8 games.
It feel good to win, but not that way. I don't feel like we dominated them the whole game. I feel like we came out, we was dominant, but I don't feel like we finished.
We wanted to score more points and put more points on Arkansas. But I guess we just going to enjoy the win. Just thankful that we were bouncing back from Alabama last week.
In that fourth frame, LSU's defense gave up some big plays, and the Hogs let them hear it.
Oh, yeah, he was doing his other thing. He playing against DBU, so, you catch a touchdown on us, you better celebrate.
But, hey, they put 31 points on Alabama, and we held them down. They found a couple of things that they can get done. I wanted to come here and get the win. Obviously, we want to play great. We want to do it in all categories, but focusing on getting the win for our football team, and I'm just proud of our team.
LSU can still get to double-digit wins in 2018. Wins over Rice and A&M would do that honor. Covering the Tigers, Garland Gillen, Fox 8 Sports.
The big talk uptown today is bowl eligibility, which the Tulane Green Wave will secure with one more win. Tulane's win streak is now at 3 games after last night's victory against East Carolina. Chris Hagan has more from Yeoman Stadium.
Saturday night was a perfect example of how the game plan can change from week to week and how surprisingly versatile Tulane's offense can be. They went from just 61 yards passing against South Florida the week before, a game where they ran for 365, to the exact opposite against East Carolina. With the Pirates keying in on the run, Justin McMillan threw for a career-high 372 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Coming after the game USF that we had, I probably would have done the same thing. Force McMillan to pass, stop Dolphine and Bradwell and see how well we can do. And like I said, my receivers, they had a really good game, and I think that shows that we're versatile. We had the ability to do both.
Wide receiver Darnell Mooney was the biggest beneficiary of the game plan, with 6 catches going for more than 200 yards. Even he couldn't believe that ECU kept giving him such soft coverage and room to run after the catch.
The first one they played, so they didn't play too much inside, but I knew I was going to get open. But the second one, I had to set it up a little bit and veer outside and then come back inside. But they kept giving it to me. I mean, even when I didn't get the ball, we ran that play, they still gave it to me.
But still, there's room for improvement. Head coach Willie Fritz says they'll take it, but also called it an ugly win. Certainly, he'd like to see more consistency on offense to go along with the big plays.
We had some opportunities to really put this game away, and we didn't do it, but I was very impressed with our guys' effort. I thought we played hard throughout the game.
Coach Fritz says it was a long road back to 500 with the tough teams they've played against, but now that the Green Wave are there, sitting at 5-5, for a second straight season, they're just 1 game away from bowl eligibility. And while it would be easy to look ahead and say, yes, they'll get there with 2 games left against Houston and a struggling Navy team, they say they aren't looking ahead because they've been here before and they do not want to be disappointed again. Reporting at Ullman Stadium, I'm Chris Hagan for the Final Play.
Thanks a lot, Chris. The wins keep on coming for Nicholls State. The Colonels took care of business against Stephen F. Austin, 47-14 at John L. Guidry Stadium in Thibodaux to keep alive their hopes of winning the Southland Conference title. Quarterback Chase Forcade, 261 yards passing, a career high, 4 touchdown throws. And the Colonels' offense had 536 total offensive yards as they pushed their record to 7-3 overall. Now, should they win against Southeastern Thursday night, they'll win a share of the Southland title with Incarnate Word. It was a good weekend for a couple of our other teams. ULL got past Georgia State 36-22, and the Southern Jaguars kept the winning going in the SWAC, running past Arkansas Pine Bluff 56-24. Meanwhile, over in Stillwater on Saturday, a New Orleans native giving some props to the Saints' newest receiver, Des Bryant. Tyron Johnson, who prepped at Warren Easton and now plays for Okie State, caught this 31-yard touchdown and threw up the X symbol, a tribute to Bryant, who also played at Oklahoma State. After the game, Johnson said he wanted to do that to lift Bryant's spirits and let him know that there are people out there rooting for him. So now we turn the page to Week 12 of the college football season. Southeastern, Nicholls, that will get things started with the River Bell Classic Thursday night. Tulane also kicking off on Thursday night at Houston at 7 o'clock. On Saturday, ULL hosts South Alabama. LSU welcomes Rice to Tiger Stadium, and the Southern Jags will have the weekend off. High school football playoffs now. St. Paul's and Jesuit finished the first week of the playoff action in Louisiana. Jesuit drawing first blood. Robert McMahon on the QB keeper for a 17-yard score. Jays back on the attack once again. McMahon fools them on the play-action pass, hits a wide-open Zach Cherneco for a 4-yard score and a 14-0 Blue Jays lead. 4th down for St. Paul's. Jack Mashburn connecting with Will Robinson. He gets the first down, but absolutely lit up by Cameron Helm. Wolves get their first touchdown courtesy of Carter Ely. 2-yard score. It's a 14-7 score at that point. In the second half, Mashburn on the keeper goes 5 yards for the score, and they were tied at 14. 17-14 St. Paul's, under 5 minutes to go in the game. McMahon to Noah Varnado by the sideline. He does the rest. Breaks 3 tackles, 73-yard touchdown. And that's the game winner. Jesuit advanced 21-17 your final. So head over to Fox 8's news app or fox8live.com, where we have highlights and scores from week 1 of the playoffs. Plus, you can catch up on the latest recruiting news. Check out our weekly power rankings and preview next week's playoff action. Our Fox 8 play of the week comes from the A-Meet Springfield playoff opener, and it comes from the Warriors' Corey McKnight. How about this track meet? Move. hurdles the defender on his way to a 17-yard score. A-Meet, they cruised into the second round, 51-0 over Springfield. And here's our Player of the Week nominees. The Hannon defense forced 13 fumbles against Lusher. They recovered 6, 2 for touchdowns. Hahnville QB Andrew Robinson with 3 touchdown passes in an upset win over Walker. And Slidell's running back Tito Simmons, 214 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, 2 catches for 27 yards, a touchdown reception. Log on to fox8live.com/player to vote. Remember, voting ends on Wednesday. Up next, it's time to crown some champions in volleyball. And the Pelicans have turned things around on the court. They're back to their winning ways again. We'll check in on both when the final play continues. We hit the home stretch here on the final play with a check-in on the volleyball championships. Division I in Mount Carmel defeated Chappelle in straight sets. And you want to talk about dominant. How about a 5th straight title for the Cubs? They finished the season 42-2.
The feeling's so unreal. I mean, we had a game plan tonight, and we executed it beautifully. With our leader Ellie Holzman, and I can't say any words. Like, I'm speechless. So it's awesome.
Other local state champions to talk about in Division IV, Archbishop Hannon gets their first ever state championship. And in Division V, Country Day, they picked up their 3rd straight title. Win 4, lose 5, win 2. The Pelicans' roller coaster season continues with them playing some much-needed home games over the last 4 days. Against the Bulls, of course, and then last night against the Suns in the Smoothie King Center. The Pelicans put it on Phoenix, winning 119-99. Anthony Davis and Julius Randle combining for 48 points and 28 rebounds as the Pelicans even their record at 6-6 on the season. Now they hit the road for 2 straight beginning in Toronto tomorrow night.
It's tough. We got a tough road trip ahead of us. Probably playing, one of the top 2 or 3 best teams in the league in Toronto. And it'll be interesting to see Minnesota. It'll be a completely different look and a completely different team. And, sometime when you lose a guy like Jimmy, it opens up doors for other guys and it gives them an opportunity to play. So it's going to be a big challenge for us on both these games. And it's going to be really, really cold.
And that's our show for tonight. For all of us here at Fox 8, I'm Juan Kincaid. Fox's NFL Game Day Prime is coming up next, but we hope you'll join us again next Sunday night for the final play.
From Fox 8 Sports, this has been the Final Play.